Hi everyone, I'm David. This is Carl. We're with the Participatory Politics Foundation, or PPF for short, and we're a nonprofit organization, and we make free and open source websites and software for civic engagement. Carl's based in San Francisco, I'm based in New York, and it's pretty much just the two of us who work on the project that I'm here to showcase to you today. Our major project, our flagship project, is opencongress.org, which since its launch in 2007, has grown to become the most visited not-for-profit government transparency site in the world. So the problem that we sought to address with Open Congress was a lack of information online about the mysterious and arcane legislative process of the US Congress. So we made this free public resource for anyone to track and better understand what's really happening in Congress. It now receives over 1 million visits a month and has close to 200,000 registered users. It's used often by such outlets as PBS. It's cited in the New York Times. We're linked from great sites like Talking Points Memo and the Washington Post. So you can see it's really become a go-to resource for bringing together all the best information about what's happening in Congress. Looking at the news recently, the incredible Wisconsin protests that have been, that have been blowing up recently they've been about a lot of issues, but they centered around a bill. They centered around Senate Bill 11. So we can see that there's a tremendous growing need for nonpartisan information about legislation at the state level. And also, bills at the state level and local level have implications too. They're just not discussed as often as they could be, but tremendous public policy implications. So we created opengovernment.org. It's a free website, and it launched in beta in January as a joint project with the Sunlight Foundation. And it takes what we did with Open Congress at the federal level and brings it down to the state and local level. So finally, a version of Open Congress for your entire chain of government is here. We have information for 5 states right now, for 5 state legislatures. They're California, Texas, Louisiana, Maryland, and Wisconsin. And we're looking to roll out to all 45 with a terrific community project called the Open States Project that's coordinated by Sunlight Labs. And here's how it works. So Open Government brings together official government information with news coverage and blog coverage, with campaign contribution data, so the money and politics angle is really key here, and also with issue group analysis. We have Wikipedia bios, we bring in tweets, so there's a lot of other, some video, there's a lot of other data sources. And it all comes together in a more user-friendly interface. So if you're brave, you can try to navigate your state's official legislative website. I mean, this is a sample of a page, so this is the before. This is a bill page in Louisiana. You can see it's the data is unstandardized, the design is unuser-friendly, the presentation isn't clear, it's not responsive. So we redesigned this, and so the after looks a little bit more like this. So we have standardized data. You can search, you can see what's hot, you can see what's most in the news, and you can get a real sense of context around bills so that they're not so strange anymore. To make some technical notes real quick, an announcement that we have here at South by Southwest is the launch of our API. So we're a community project out there for the public benefit on the open web. We have an API where you can get all of the bills and most viewed information around on the site. You can access it for free. Also, we provide a free service to look up your federal and state legislators by location, by lat long, which is a unique offering. And then our open source GovKit Ruby wrapper means that the open government can be customized. This is a web application that can be remixed and customized for other open government data streams. So we're not just sort of a discrete project. In addition to providing a service, we're also a resource for developers to make a version of Open Congress for other countries, for other sort of online distributed web-based communities. It's used every day by political bloggers and journalists. Those are two of our core target audiences. Also by citizen watchdogs, people who are active on Open Congress, and especially by activists. This is, we do view this as an activist tool. This is a tool for community advocates and NGOs at the local level that they haven't had before, to both sort of contribute their voice to the conversation, right, and have a place to comment on what they think about bills, and also for their communities to self-organize, like we've seen on Open Congress. Once you provide an open public forum, there's new communities evolve around this. So we've seen at the federal level that there's a demand for information about bills. So we have a proven and successful model with Open Congress. We know that our democracy needs better information. Open Government is a project out there as part of the growing open government movement. We're leading the way, and we want to bring user-friendly government transparency to the state and local level, all the way down to your neighborhood. I wanted to thank the Accelerator contest and also thank the 2 other projects, Storify and Document Cloud, are both rad. And wanted to look forward to hearing what the judges have to say. But we're easy to reach, and we're always looking for volunteer help. And we've got a great active core of volunteer contributors as an open source project. And we interact with our users every day in practicing agile web development. And we hope you check out the site and let us know what you think.
Thank you very much. Going first is never fun.
It's all right.
But now it's over. Now you get to enjoy the rest of the competition. So now we're going to have 10 minutes of questions. I'm going to start with Mark. I want to get your thoughts on what you just heard.
Okay. I'm going to quickly summarize my thoughts and then ask you a question. I'm going to break it into concept versus your presentation style. Concept, wonderful idea of creating transparency. You showed not enough of the product, but what appeared to be a well-designed UI relative to the past and the problem that we had. And the idea of driving community engagement around topics is great, particularly as you use a great example from the recent statewide controversies that we're seeing. So that concept, love the area. In terms of presentation, I know you have 5 minutes. You talk way too fast in a very monotone delivery style. And I think you could lose some of the material and make more of an impact in the way you present it. I think a little bit more of a narrative would help, the big so what. You didn't show enough of product. I think that would have been useful in judging you and your efficacy. You gave us data, 1 million uniques, 200,000 subscribers. That's good. But more product, more so what. My one question for you is, talk to us about the engagement tools, because it's one thing to take documents and present them in a better UI. I think the real so what I'm guessing is how you get the community engaged. Talk a bit about that.
That's great. Thanks for the question, Mark. And I'm glad to have a chance to talk about that. So what we do is we give people the tools to sort of walk up the ladder of engagement as we view it. So they come to our site either because they're searching for a bill or they're trying to find their members in the state legislature.
Slow down.
Okay. Or they're just looking to see what's hot in their state legislature. So there's a few different steps. First, they can see our clear information display. It's easier to understand what a bill is actually saying and find its full text. Then the second step is sort of tracking it. You also get to see context, real-world context from tweets, from news and blog coverage, which is really useful. So it's a peer-to-peer communication tool. You also get to track it then using RSS feeds and email alerts. So then you can follow a bill or an issue that you care about. Sort of the next step is like, well, if you've been tracking a bill or you just have a thought on it, you can comment on it. So we have open public comment forums. That's really where a lot of the engagement happens. And I can focus more on that. But then the last step of sort of walking up the chain is, well, you've got all this rich data around a bill. You have a permalink about what you're talking about. You can communicate with your members in a really effective way. So no other web page makes it as easy to contact your state legislators as Open Government does. There's a button on every bill page that says contact, and then you enter your zip code, and you're thrown right to different ways to contact them over email and phone and tweeting.
Okay. So let's kick it down to the panel. What do you guys, anybody have thoughts? Craig, this is something that I think you might have a thought on.
Do you have any tools, does your site tie in with any tools that do fact-checking and can help detect disinformation campaigns?
Cool, good question. We're interested in doing more of that. Authoritative and factual information about bills is obviously something that we're passionate about. Right now, the site works to filter up the most viewed journalism around bills, so that's one resource that we have. The comments can also be used to link to external sources like ProPublica or the Post or other reliable news sources. We'd be open to working with other sorts of open services and products to do that. And News Trust comes to mind. A lot of other projects come to mind.
What's a good example of a media publication or a blog using your product at the moment?
Sure. Oh, well, okay, so with I can point to Open Congress. Since Open Government just launched in beta in January, it's still being rolled out, and it's gotten links from political blogs, but Open Congress is really a better use case. So journalists like in the Times and the Post bloggers link to Open Congress bill pages because they're the single best overview of all the information around a bill. Both its official information and then also its context. Open Government replicates that model. And so for the first time for state level legislation, there's a URL that journalists can feel really confident in linking to, that their readers are going to have a good access, a good window to it.
Okay. Can they embed the content at all?
They will be able to embed it once we do more widgets and once we have more widget offerings. Then we do have RSS feeds that will allow people to syndicate the information now. And with our new API especially, we do hope that we'll partner with a lot of news organizations.
David, can you talk a little bit about sustainability? I think that you guys said up front that you're a 501c3.
That's right.
And how you think about that moving forward.
So we think about sustainability, of course, at the beginning of all of our projects, and we're a 501c3 organization. We view ourselves as having a public mission, public service mission. Our model for sustainability is it's a lot like that of the Mozilla Foundation. So it's a it's a nonprofit that defends the principles of the open web. So we look to support ourselves with grants from charitable foundations. Also with some earned revenue opportunities down the line with partner organizations who can, we offer a lot of valuable services that partner organizations can use, like
Excuse me. Quite a loud cough.
NGOs like Move On, League of Conservation Voters, political blogs. There's a lot of partnership opportunities. And last, we do run an active sort of microdonor campaign. We get volunteer contributions, not only in code, but also microdonations that help us keep the site up and running.
So I want to ask a question. So I used to work at Wired. I was a journalist for a long time. This would be a tool that would be of some interest to me, but as a news person, I kind of know where to go get all that stuff, right? So this seems to be less about news and more about maybe citizen journalism or participatory action. Is that right?
I think maybe it would provide a pretty different user experience because journalists, after all, this information has existed online someplace before, right? State governments sort of do on these really far, out of the way websites. They do publish information about bills, but it's not often cited really regularly in coverage. And even the Wisconsin protests are an example. I don't think there was a lot of people really reading the text of the bill, particularly if it was being linked. Also, for journalists, you can dive in. You can see what's most in the news, what's most commented on by our users, what's most viewed, and you can do that all geographically too. So you can see for any given state what people in that state or state congressional district are following. So that's a pretty new resource. In addition, I really don't want to underemphasize the aggregation features. We bring together the campaign contribution data and tweets and Wikipedia biographies, and so it's all at your fingertips. So instead of having to go to 4 or 5 different sites, it is all within one page. And then the last part of it is that you can, when you link to Open Congress for your readers, like I mentioned earlier, it's a qualitatively different user experience than linking to like a PDF or an off-putting government website. I think so I think the tool's got a lot of uses both for really niche researchers who are doing like the long tail of legislation, but then also just the public on the casual web surfers who are looking to find information.
So the tool set is really what you think is the heart of what you do.
Well, I view what we do as having it's got a couple different aspects. We are an open source project that can be remixed. We're a deep tool for developers, and we serve as a model and as evangelists for open government data. But then also we provide we're a web service. We provide the what I view as the most user-friendly window on bills and issues in state legislation, and that hasn't existed before.
Okay. Do you have a means of doing like an email campaign to Congress? And if so, can you assure congressmen that when they get them, they're actually hearing from constituents?
We can. So we are building up to add more and more of those features because we do view the site as a tool for deliberative democracy and for creating a continual feedback loop with members of Congress. So right now you can contact your members directly from open government pages. We are looking to enable more features through open source software like Drupal to allow users to create campaigns and write members and then authenticate to an address. Either there's a couple different authentication plugins that we can use, including a credit card based one.
So authentication is a future.
Authentication's coming in the future.
Okay.
So we have 1.5 minutes left for questions.
So I'm interested to know a little bit more about the activist tool that you talked about. Can you maybe just give us a quick overview of that?
I'm sorry, the activist tool?
Activist tool. You talked about an activist tool at one point?
The activist.
Activists using this
activists
service?
using the site?
Yeah.
We're having an English language translation problem.
From New Zealand.
From English or to Appalachian, it'll never work.
I just couldn't hear. So any community-based NGO interacts with government and sort of has needs. We've done webinars for nonprofit organizations that are working with disadvantaged populations or just with that are working at the local level for organizing their neighborhood, like a neighborhood, loose neighborhood watch coalitions, or environmental activists are always a great example. so they always sort of need a tool to keep track of more easily of what's happening with their Congress and what's happening with their state legislature. So this hasn't existed before for them. They can use this to send their members there and all leave feedback, and then also use the page as a portal to all let their members know, hey, I'm watching what you do, I'm watching your campaign donations, and I'm following you on opengovernment.org.
15 seconds. Anybody?
What's the relationship with Sunlight Foundation?
So Open Government is a joint project with the Sunlight Foundation, and the Open States Project provides the legislative backbone of data to the site.
With 2 seconds to spare. Thank you very much.
Thank you.